Well, that is our cue for our catastrophic global warming update. Got some information I want to pass along to you. Fire Hose Friday. I got some environmental stuff I've been stacking up for weeks, and we're going to unload it on you right here. We're looking at this serious double standard with federal policy on endangered species laws. I want to give you some examples here. The government fined a marine biologist by the name of Nancy Black $12,000 and sentenced her to 3 years of probation. You know what her crime was? She fed a whale in Monterey Bay. She gave some food to a whale in Monterey Bay. She's been fined $12,000 and has been sentenced to 3 years of probation. Then there was this tree trimmer by the name of Ernesto Pulido. He was hired by the U.S. Postal Service to trim back these trees because there were herons that were in these trees that were defecating on the postal vans. And they got tired of having bird stuff all over the windshields and the hoods and the roofs of these postal vans. So they hire this guy, come in and cut down these trees so the birds won't keep pooping on our vehicles. So he did. Now, turned out there was a nest of these herons in there. The poor little birdies fell out of the nest. They got bruised. Their beaks got nicked. They're all going to live. They're at Bird Hospital. They're being rehabilitated. Ernest Pulido feels terrible about it. Ernesto feels terrible about it. He's gone to visit them in the Bird Hospital. He is paying for their treatment, paying for their recovery. And until yesterday, the federal government was going to prosecute him and fine him for what he had done to these poor, helpless little birds. Now, here is a bird watcher by the name of Lincoln Kareem. Lives in New York City. Now, listen to this. He found a dead bird in Central Park. It was dead. Dead. Red-tailed hawk, dead, Central Park. Now, he called animal control to come and pick up the carcass. I got a dead bird here. It's a red-tailed hawk. I don't want the scavengers to get it. I don't want some raccoon to get it. I don't want some other predator to get it. It's not right. I got more respect for living things than that. So animal control doesn't answer the phone. They don't come and pick up the carcass. So he puts the bird in a plastic bag, and he took it home and kept it in a refrigerator so it could get a decent burial. Whatever a decent burial is for a bird, that's what he wanted it to have. Now, he thought maybe somebody had poisoned the bird, and that's why it died in Central Park. So Monday, he takes it in for an autopsy, because he thinks, look, if this bird has been poisoned, maybe there's somebody else trying to do the same thing to other birds in Central Park, and the authorities would want to know. They arrested him. He shows up with the bird because he touched a dead bird that was on the endangered species list. They arrested him. He got handcuffed when he brought the bird in there, and he has actually been charged with illegal possession of a raptor. He was charged with the crime for this. Now, at the same time, you've got these wind farms, these wind turbines. These are nothing but bird blenders. They kill 600,000 birds a year, including bald and golden eagles, and bats by the thousands get chewed up by these wind turbines. They're just bird blenders. Now, the Obama administration, the same people that are going after the tree trimmer for harming the poor innocent little birds, same guys that are going after the woman for feeding the whale in Monterey Bay, the same people going after the guy for trying to give a decent burial to a red-tailed hawk, they are giving these wind farms 30-year permits to kill as many birds as they want. They're not going to get prosecuted, even though bald eagles, golden eagles getting chewed up by these wind turbines. They have an exemption from prosecution under federal migratory bird laws and all that kind of stuff. 1.4 million a year is the estimate are killed each year, flying things, birds and stuff, by wind farms. You know, these blades can turn 180 miles an hour, and raptors, which are the kind of species they want to protect in particular, they like to follow the currents in windy areas. They're looking for field mice. They're looking for rabbits. And where do they put these wind farms? They put them in the same areas where you have mice and rabbits. You got to have open. So that's where the raptors go looking for food. So now they've got a 30-year get-out-of-jail-free card to chew up golden eagles and bald eagles, the national bird. Nobody else is getting that, said this observer. Nobody else is allowed to go out and kill eagles like this and get away with it. California alone, wind farms out there are estimated to have killed over 3,000 golden eagles. They got a pass for the next 30 years. One more piece of information. Hang on, Michael. I'll get to you here in just a second. This goes back to the Fukushima thing. Remember, they had the nuclear plants melted down in Japan. And everybody's looking at the tides. This radiation is going to come to the shores. It's going to come to the United States. We're going to get radioactive fish that are going to be caught off the shores. People are going to be eating radioactive fish that have been nuked by being close to the proximity of this Fukushima reactors. Well, it's happened. These albacore tuna that were radiated by the Fukushima nuclear plant meltdown, they have now been caught off the shores of California, off the Pacific coast. Radioactive fish. And I remember the first stories I was seeing about these radioactive fish, nuked fish. And it was an alarming deal, alarming headline about these fish that are radioactive because they picked it up in Fukushima. Okay, here's the deal. Here's a piece from laweekly.com. Albacore tuna caught off the Oregon coast since the 2011 Fukushima Daiichi power plant meltdown in Japan have finally arrived at the Pacific coast. There has been fear, writes Samantha Bonar, hysteria on the part of some that ocean currents would carry the radioactive materials, mainly radioactive cesium-137 and cesium-134, to the California and Oregon coast and into the fish populations, and scientists have found radioactive presences in West Coast tuna. But here is the catch. You got these scare headlines, radioactive fish. You're thinking Godzilla, all kind of stuff. But here's what she says. You would have to consume more than 700,000 pounds of this radioactive fish with the highest radioactive level to match the amount of radiation the average person is exposed to annually just in everyday life, just by living and walking around. You absorb radiation through cosmic rays, from the air, from the ground, from X-ray and other sources. Just living and breathing and moving around, you absorb radiation. You'd have to eat 700,000 pounds of these nuked fish from Fukushima to get the amount of radiation that you're exposed to every year just by living and breathing. A year of eating albacore with these cesium traces is about the same dose of radiation you would get from spending 23 seconds in a stuffy basement from radon gas, or sleeping next to your spouse for 40 nights from the natural potassium-40 in their body. Just not much at all. So they were hoping to scare us to death about this radiation in fish. Turns out nothing to it. Let's go to Michael. Michael, welcome. Last call of the day. Welcome to Free for All Friday. Michael, you're on with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Brian, I'll make this quick. First, let me say it's always an honor for the privilege to be boarding the USS Focal Point.
Hey, thank you.
You bet. Three quick things. One, it seems like the Taliban issue's taking the focus off the 36,000 Hispanic criminals that he just released.
Yeah.
Also, if you recall, Martin Luther King Jr. Made it clear that everything Hitler did was legal. And
yes.
Finally, people seem to be focused only on the Taliban. The Taliban is not our only enemy. We also have enemies in other nationalities that will also now know that they can take our soldiers as prisoners.
Yeah. Well, and your point about the illegal immigration criminals, 36,000 of them that have been set loose by this administration, convicted of crimes, not just charged with a crime, not just arrested for a crime, but charged and convicted of crimes. I mean, we're talking homicide. I mean, illegal aliens with 193 kills to their credit are now walking loose in American society. And, Michael, I'm not going to be able to get to it. I've got a whole stack on this. I won't get to it till next week. But we've got a real problem with Muslims in the United States that have gone to Syria, engaged in jihad, and now have come back to the United States. And our authorities are admitting they do not know where these people are. there are somewhere between 70 and 100 Americans, Muslim converts, some of them moved here as Muslims, and now have gone to Syria to engage in holy jihad and kill people in the name of Allah, and they have American passports. And some of them have come back to the United States, and Homeland Security doesn't have any idea where they are. And this is a huge problem in France. It's a huge problem in the UK, where you've got Muslims that have gone from the UK to Syria. They've gotten trained in jihad, guerrilla warfare, blowing people up, and they go back to France, or they go back to the UK. France has got several hundred of these. The UK has probably got 500 of them. One of these mujahideen from France went to Syria, engaged in jihad, came back to France. You remember that shooting about a week or two ago in a Jewish museum in France. 4 people dead. They had surveillance footage of the guy calmly walking in with a baseball cap, just hosing people down in cold blood, calmly walking out, getting picked up at the curb. That guy was a Muslim who had gone to Syria, learned how to kill people in the name of Allah, came back and shot up a Jewish museum. It's a huge problem in France. It's a huge problem in the UK, and it's going to be a huge problem here in the United States. That's why I believe still firmly we should suspend Islamic immigration. Blessing for the weekend now to him who is able to strengthen you according to my gospel and the preaching of Jesus Christ, the only wise God. To him be glory forevermore through Jesus Christ. Amen. Short leave until Monday. Don't forget to bow low before God, stand tall before man, stand in the gap. Never forget, we're fighting a winnable war. See you Monday.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast do not necessarily reflect